Earlier I did the live stream where I talked about, more so than I think I did in the past 2 days, because I got more information. I talked about the whole fur obedience situation and basically how we know that the person behind it is just one of those people that doesn't want to take the time to kind of think about, think about and ask the question, okay, what is the reason? Like, is there a good reason, a positive reason why people support, this fandom, this community? And when I was doing that, I also thought about something else I wanted to talk about because apparently we've been noticing this with pro wrestling. And it's something to do with the fan base itself. And it's not just the wrestlers versus the fans and all that, but it's also the fans versus the fans. I mean, look, when people like JD from Off the Script, JD from NY206 of Off the Script, and people like Solomonster, Jason Solomon, the Solomonster Sounds Off, Greg Morgan of Good Mike Work Commentaries, Alex Six of Just Alex, the Schleg Daddy Jeff Siegel of, OTRS Central, and many, 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 others out there, A and B combos, Fightful, Sean Rossap and Denise, basically when they come out and they give their opinion on something, it's almost like if you don't say what, other fans or certain fan bases want to hear you say, then to them, you're not a true fan. You're not a true wrestling fan. And I say this because there's a lot of folks that will listen to what JD says, like they'll listen to him tonight for his SmackDown review. They will listen to what he says on his SmackDown review, his Dynamite review, his Raw review, his pay-per-view PLE reviews. They will listen to what he says, and when he doesn't say what they want to hear, they will take what he says out of context. If he says something negative about WWE, even though WWE is on a hot streak, they'll take that out. Somebody will decide, I'm going to take that out of context. I'm going to clip what he said there, and I'm going to make it sound like he's not a true fan of WWE. The same thing goes with people when they hear him talk negatively about something that AEW needs to work on. They need to improve on. They'll take that, clip it, and try to make it sound like he's an AEW hater. The same with people like Solomonster, Alex, everybody I've mentioned, A and B combos, you name it. They'll take certain aspects of what they say out of context, clip it, and make it sound like they meant something else when it wasn't true. And it's all because you are not saying what they want to hear. Or in some cases, you're not choosing one side over the other. You see, when people like Solomonster and Alex and, even Greg Morgan come out and say, hey, we like good wrestling. We are true wrestling fans. We like good wrestling along with storytelling, good storytelling, to accompany it. They mean it. They mean it based on their experience as fans. But yet people will hear that, and they're not going to want to even acknowledge the whole, we love good wrestling along with good storytelling. They will not want to hear that part. They will not want to hear the good storytelling part. They want to hear the good wrestling part. And if you don't just emphasize the wrestling, then they feel you are not a true fan. Especially if you say something like that when it comes to AEW. You are not a true fan. Look, wrestling is like any fan base out there. Wrestling, is a choice of opinion. If some people feel that wrestling, pro wrestling is good just based on the in-ring competition, then so be it. Some people don't care whether or not a match makes sense or anything. As long as there's two good in-ring competitors, that's all they care about because, hey, we're going to get a banger of a match. And you might. But in today's day and age, you need more than that. You need something to accompany it. I mean, why do you think people comment on the whole Sheamus, the whole matches that Sheamus has had with Pete Dunne and others? Because there's a story behind that with Sheamus. A story that he wants to become Intercontinental Champion for the first time in his career. A story of he has this connection with Pete Dunne, and yet Pete blames him, for being where he was. And what did they do to kind of help accentuate that storytelling? What did they do? They went and had a great matchup. A matchup that had storytelling to it. And storytelling throughout the match itself. So yes, having a good match, in the ring between two great competitors is great and all, but it takes more than that nowadays. And, if you don't say, and if you don't, I guess when it comes to the AEW fan base or any, just pure pro wrestling fan base, if you don't just say, oh, well, the wrestling, as long as the wrestling is great, it shouldn't matter. If you don't agree with their aspects, then you're not a true fan. But you are a true fan. You're a true fan when you call out companies for doing things that they should improve on. I mean, I was just reading a comment that JD put on his Twitter account talking about how tonight you got Kevin Owens teaming up with Cody Rhodes against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Same old shit, different night. With the storytelling of will Owens turn when he won't. It may be the same thing and everything, and it may not really progress much, but that's JD's opinion. And he is the kind of person, along with a Solid Monster, that will go out there and admit when they're wrong. And if tonight you have, Owens stun Cody after the match, but then say, hey, this is what you wanted, it's just business, then that kind of advances the story because Owens has warned him, do not give me this shot. I am not truly worthy, and if you want it, you're going to get the Owens that will do whatever it takes. And then in a sense, you also kind of maybe entertain the idea, if not move along the story of the potential split between Waller and Theory. And if that was to happen tonight, which it probably will by the time you listen and watch and listen to this, then someone like JD will come out and admit they were wrong. They will. Someone like Solid Monster will come out and admit they were wrong. I mean, let's go back to almost a year ago when CM Punk made his return at the end of Survivor Series. Everybody basically said it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Yeah, they're in Chicago, but it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. What happened? Triple H basically shuts the mouth, completely up and basically causes the likes of a JD and a Solid Monster to have to live up to the end of the little agreements they made with the fan base. That, if CM Punk debuts at Survivor Series, no matter when it happens, JD, I won't wear a cap. I won't wear my Atlanta Braves cap, for the stream. Solid Monster, if it happens, I'll eat a bowl of crow. What did Solid Monster do? He figuratively, but not literally, I should say, let me correct that. Solid Monster, what did he do? He literally ate a bowl, not figuratively, but literally, made it look like he was eating a bowl of crow because both were wrong. But they lived up to admitting it. You see what I'm saying is that, wrestling fans have a right to, feel the way they want to feel. You shouldn't have to basically go out there and say, oh, well, if you don't agree with me, if you don't agree with, what this company is about, then you're not a true fan. Look, when it comes to AEW, JD, Solid Monster, Alex, and all the others I've talked about and mentioned, they want AEW to succeed. A lot of them praised, everybody praised, basically, Dynamite, the go-home edition of Dynamite before All In, is one of the best go-home shows all year. I mean, when you get that, when they do that, basically more so than they have lately, it shows that basically they're acknowledging that, yes, AEW can get it together. They can AEW can get it together, and that they can basically not only give you great wrestling, they can give you good storytelling. There's no doubt about that. The fact is, when people say the things that they do, they don't say it because they hate pro wrestling. They don't say it because they hate a certain pro wrestling company. They say it because it's their job, and they're true wrestling fans. And as true wrestling fans, they let it be known to hopefully the person that runs the place that if they ever hear them, that, hey, we want you to get better. Here's what you need to work on. And that's it. Now, when it comes to the wrestlers and the fans, especially, notable content creator fans like JD and Solid Monster, will the wrestlers that listen to what they say or hear what they say online agree with them? No, not all the time. I mean, you have Dax Hardwood, of FTR, basically not agreeing on several occasions and recently with what JD had to say. JD is, he gave his opinions, maybe critical in the eyes of someone like Dax, but he gave his opinions on basically the match that FTR had recently on Collision. It felt like there was no life to it. It felt lifeless. It felt like there was no meaning. And yet Dax takes offense to that because it's like, hey, look, if you don't like what you saw, then don't watch it because I'm doing something you don't. I'm busting my butt. And here's the thing. Does Dax have a right to say how he feels and criticize what JD said about the match? Yeah, he does, because he's doing what JD doesn't have the experience in doing. Yes, JD does call pro wrestling, does play-by-play for pro wrestling at House of Glory. So he has some experience. He has some experience. He has some, I guess you could say, justification to criticize, because he knows what a good wrestling match is. To him, a good wrestling match is not only great competitors in the ring tearing the house down, but also having a story that goes along with it. To him, yes, FTR being in the ring with, let's say, Tarp Flight, or the maximum MXM, if you will, the maximum male models as they were once known, and having a great freaking match, that's good and all, but what's the story? What's the meaning of it? And then all of a sudden, where's the story of how FTR is now inserted into a tag team title program between the Bucks and the Acclaimed, when it should just be the Bucks and the Acclaimed? All he's asking, in his opinion, is give him a reason why FTR is going out there and busting up butts for 30-plus minutes against the maximum male models, or going out there and busting up butts against Top Flight. What's the reasoning? Is there a reasoning? Is there a goal in mind? Let him know, and in fact, even give him some kind of substance as to why, maybe now they're suddenly feuding with the Acclaimed, and why the Acclaimed hinting at a heel turn. That's all he's asking. That's all people like him are asking. Now, again, does someone like Dax have a right to feel like, hey, we're being insulted because we're going out there busting our butts, and it shouldn't matter whether or not there's a story behind it? Does he have justification for feeling that way? Yes. But he also, in a way, should take that criticism. Anybody would. Anybody in any sport or combat sport should take that kind of a criticism and be like, okay, this person's got a point, and this person's got a notable kind of following in the social media realm, and they have experience, in the professional wrestling business as a play-by-play announcer. Hey, maybe we should take what they say at face value and kind of give them a reason, give them a storyline as to what's going on. But, to someone like JD, that's not happening. To someone like Solid Monster, that's not happening. And here's the thing. They were critical about the Britt Baker, Mercedes Moné storyline that was a slam dunk for Tony Khan, that Tony Khan had in the palm of his hands, getting ice cold, if you will, to the point that they were happy that at least something occurred on Wednesday on the Go Home show. You get what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? When it comes to wrestling overall, not all fans are going to agree with each other. All right? So if you don't agree with what one person's saying, then don't go out and try to twist what they're saying. Just accept it. Just be like, okay, if that's how that person feels, that's fine. I can let them have their opinion. I'll just, maybe reply respectfully as to why I disagree. And the same goes for the wrestlers. Yes, the wrestlers have more justification to want to criticize those that criticize their matches. I agree on that, but they also should at least look at what people like a JD, like a Solid Monster, like a Greg Morgan and all of them say about the match and acknowledge that, yes, they respect the idea that you, as the wrestler, go out there and bust your butt for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, but that you also need some kind of substance. You need a story that connects it, that makes it sense as to why. Give them a reason to care. That's all they ask. And that's all they want you to do is take that criticism and be like, okay, let's give them a reason to care. Let's give them a reason as to why this is happening. Let's tell a story. I mean, when you look at the freaking London ladder match, that has a story more so than I think anybody expected. And it makes perfect sense. Here you have, Christian and the patriarchy, always up to the, tricks and everything to keep Christian as a champion. And yet, Christopher Daniels, through Tony Khan, is basically saying, nope, that's going to come to an end. Hopefully, at All In, we're going to do this London ladder match and see if maybe they can get the job done on their own. So there's a bit of a story there. You know what I'm saying? The same with Danielson and Strickland. Nobody thought maybe we'd get a story here, but the story is this could be, win or lose, Danielson's last hurrah. And for Strickland, it's a story of whether or not he can prove to be, the best in AEW, if not the best in the world, by beating the best, in the middle of the ring. And it's a story that also connects with something else that he's part of, a story involving Hangman. And now you got people wondering, well, if Hangman wins that battle, that gauntlet, that casino gauntlet or not, will Hangman interfere and cost Strickland the match, thus leading into a match at All Out? Or even if Hangman wins the gauntlet and Strickland ends up staying champion or gets the championship back in time for Full Gear, it basically's got people talking. It's got people intrigued and invested. You take a look at Tony Storm and Mariah May. Everybody knew that was what was going to happen, but the way they played it out when it did was great. Yeah, that they kind of had dropped the ball a little bit here and there. Yeah. But the story has always been basically, as to, why Mariah did it, and now we're going to get our answer. Is Mariah trying to replace Tony? What's the reasoning? We're going to find out. Or is Mariah just wanting it to be all about herself? We're going to find out. Get what I'm saying? There are examples of storytelling in AEW that people like JD and Solomasta will praise. They will praise and say that's what you need to do more often to accompany the great wrestling that you have in the ring. And that's all they ask for. That's all they ask for from the wrestlers that may see what they say, hear what they say, and might respond back to it. And instead of being, feeling insulted, which again, if that's how they feel, that they have a right to that, they should take that into consideration and be like, okay, we need to basically improve. We need to be better at what we do. Because at the end of the day, there's an old saying that the real boss, the real person that calls the shots, that has the final say, isn't the guy that owns the place. It's the fans. The fans are the ones that have the final say. The fans are the boss, and you need to give the fans what they want. Now, again, when it comes to the wrestling fan base, is everybody going to be on the same page? No, because some people would rather just care about the wrestling. And why would they care about the wrestling? Because some of them feel like, hey, if it's just focused on the pro wrestling, whether it makes sense or not, it will legitimize it more day after day, and sooner or later it'll be part of the highlight packages on places like ESPN. And if that's okay, this is what I look at. If that's how you feel and everything, and that's why you disagree with people like JD and just Alex and all them, fine. Do us a favor, respectfully, as fellow fans, just admit that. Just admit that. And then in turn, just acknowledge that, hey, I don't agree with what JD said. I don't agree with what Solomasta said, but if that's how they feel, fine. Because a true fandom and fan base respects each other's opinions. And that's a fact. End of discussion. But that's all I can say, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. Like the video. Click on the bell for notifications for future content to come. Also, subscribe to the channel. Also, click on the links in the description to the other places where you can find my content, as well as to my Teespring store where you can find merchandise you can't find anywhere else. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are on all of this, and until then, I am out.